Let's be honest, there's a moment every man feels but rarely understands. You're sitting across from her, the air shifts, her eyes soften for half a second, and you sense something powerful, almost like she wants to surrender her guard, let you in, let herself feel something deeper, but then she pulls back. She changes the subject, smiles casually, and acts like nothing happened, and you're left wondering, did I imagine that? My friend, you didn't. That flicker is real, and most men miss it. Not because they're not worthy, but because no one ever taught them how to read what a woman's silence is actually screaming. You've been tricked into thinking attraction is about flashy words, smooth lines, or showing off confidence. But a woman's true readiness, her unspoken desire to open up, to give herself, never reveals itself loudly. It shows up in whispers, in hesitation, in the tiny ways she bends time around you, and she won't tell you, because a woman's heart tests before it trusts. She waits to see if you are the kind of man who can feel what she won't speak. A man who sees beyond performance, beyond ego, beyond surface-level attention. Right now, you might be replaying conversations in your head, moments where she lingered when she could have walked away, where she asked a question she didn't really need the answer to, where her eyes didn't quite match her words. The uncomfortable truth? Women are masters of subtle admission. She won't risk verbalizing what could make her vulnerable, because deep inside, she fears choosing a man who only sees her as an option. She wants to feel she is chosen before she gives herself. That's why you must learn these signs, not to manipulate, not to force, but to recognize truth when it's gently offered. Because when a woman decides she wants to give herself to you, she won't announce it. She'll invite it through energy. It appears when she slightly mirrors your movements without meaning to, when she gives longer answers than needed, when she finds reasons to stay in your presence beyond logic, when she hides her nervousness by pretending to be casual, when she remembers things you don't even recall saying, or when she subtly shifts her tone when she's alone with you versus in front of others. These aren't games. These are her signals of emotional safety testing your awareness. If you respond with pressure, impatience, or ego, she retreats. If you respond with steadiness, grounded masculinity, and silent reassurance, she edges closer. A woman does not give herself to the loudest man. She gives herself to the one whose presence quiets her doubts. And if deep down, you've ever felt a woman wanting more but holding back, if you've sensed closeness only to lose it, you are not broken. You're simply playing a game others haven't taught you the rules to. By the end of this video, you'll understand them. You'll know how to identify the signs before she even admits them to herself. But first, take a breath. Let that discomfort sit. Because what I'm about to reveal next will either confirm what you've always felt or challenge everything you thought you knew. What scares most women isn't giving herself to a man, it's giving herself to the wrong man. So, she tests in silence. One of the first hidden signs that she wants to let herself fall into you is when she gives you access to the real her without announcing it. Notice how her voice changes when she speaks to you alone versus around others. It softens, slows, carries a vulnerability she tries to mask. She leans closer when the environment gets quieter, as if the noise of the world fades in your presence. That shift, that tiny surrender, is her permission to step inside her emotional space. She doesn't say, "I trust you." She shows it. Another sign is how she starts to reveal parts of her story she doesn't share normally. Not the surface-level highlights she posts publicly, but the subtle confessions, the fears about not being enough, the childhood moment that shaped her, the heartbreak she still safeguards. Pay attention. She doesn't dump this on you. She lets it slip, carefully watching your reaction. If your response carries judgment or pity, she'll retreat immediately. But if you receive it with calm stillness and a subtle nod, no pressure, no victimizing, she stores that moment into her memory and later, her desire. You'll also notice something curious, her body orientation. Women do not subconsciously turn toward men they emotionally disconnect from. Even if her words appear indifferent, her feet, her knees, her torso slowly angled toward you, almost as if her body is ready to move closer before her mind will allow it. She'll play with her hair, not for vanity, but to release nervous energy, fix her clothing, touch her neck or collarbone. These are self-soothing signals, indicating internal emotional tension, not discomfort, but anticipation. And then there's timing. A woman ready to give herself emotionally will create reasons to stay. She'll ask one more question before ending the conversation, linger just a few seconds longer at the door, subtly slow her steps when walking next to you. If you mention hanging up the call, she responds slower, as if hoping you give her reason to continue. She won't ask directly, but she'll make it easy for you to invite deeper connection. A powerful indicator appears in silence, not awkward silence, but the kind that feels safe. When she doesn't rush to fill space, when she softly exhales and seems comfortable simply existing next to you. That's rare. Silence for a woman is only comfortable when she feels safe. And emotional safety is the foundation of surrender. But here's the trap many men fall into. They mistake her hesitation as disinterest. They assume if she's not boldly initiating, she doesn't want them. That couldn't be further from the truth. A woman waits for the man who knows how to lead softly, with presence, not pressure. The man whose energy says, "I see you, I'm here, take your time." If you've ever felt a woman carefully giving pieces of herself, but you rushed, pushed, or tried to prove yourself, you didn't lose her interest. You interrupted her rhythm. In the next moment, let me show you the difference between a man she tests and a man she surrenders to without resistance. A woman doesn't surrender to strength she has to respect through fear. She gives herself to strength she can rest inside. One of the most hidden signs that she wants to open up to you but won't verbalize is how she begins to relax her mask in your presence. She stops performing. Her laugh becomes genuine instead of polite. Her posture shifts from intentional to natural. She shares opinions she normally keeps quiet, even if they're slightly controversial. Why? Because part of her unconsciously wonders, can I be unfiltered around him without losing his interest? If you respond with acceptance, not necessarily agreement, but understanding, her trust deepens. Another sign is how she starts referencing the future without caution. She'll casually mention, "if you ever go there," or "someday when you do this." She subtly places herself in your timeline without attaching herself to it. That's her careful way of exploring emotional possibility without appearing needy. Pay attention to the way she does this. It's not commitment talk, it's curiosity talk. She imagines scenarios that involve you without confessing she's imagining them. Watch how she responds when you're distracted. If she's testing you, your temporary distance will trigger a protective response, not an insecure one. But if she wants to give herself to you, that distraction makes her uneasy. Not out of jealousy, but because your presence regulates her. If you pull away energetically, she becomes slightly quieter, maybe even disconnects mentally for a moment. That's her shield coming back up, because your energy was the anchor holding it down. And here's a deeper one. She listens to you differently. A woman ready to emotionally connect doesn't just hear your words, she analyzes how you express emotion. When you talk about your passions, she leans in. When you talk about challenges, she watches your eyes to see if you deflect pain with humor or confront it directly. Because for a woman to give herself fully, she needs to know you don't run from discomfort. Emotional depth in a man is not shown by what he says, but how still he remains when speaking truth. When she starts offering emotional support without being asked, like checking if you've eaten, reminding you to rest, or telling you she noticed you looked tired, that's not mere kindness. It's her initiating nurturing before permission. Women don't nurture men they feel indifferent toward. That instinct to care reveals that part of her already sees you as useful to protect emotionally. Then there's one of the strongest signs. She stops competing with you. In the beginning, she may tease or challenge subtly. It's fun, it's flirtation. But when she begins to emotionally pivot, her tone softens, she compliments without hesitation, and when you speak passion or purpose, she encourages rather than questions it. The shift from sparring to alignment is the moment her energy begins surrendering. But most men make a fatal error here. They respond to her softening by pushing harder, interpreting vulnerability as an opportunity instead of a privilege. The moment you try to capitalize on softness is the moment she withdraws it. The woman who wants to give herself to you is not waiting for more effort. She's waiting for more presence. Now, are you ready to recognize what happens when she silently chooses you? Because that's where everything changes. The most powerful sign a woman wants to give herself to you but won't admit is how her guard struggles to stay up around you. She'll begin slipping into vulnerability and then catch herself, often changing tone or subject abruptly. You'll notice moments where she looks at you a little too long, pauses before speaking, or goes quiet when you step closer. This isn't confusion, it's internal conflict. Her heart is ready to move forward, but her mind still fears choosing wrong. Understand this, she doesn't hold back because she doubts you. She holds back because losing herself to the wrong man is a wound she may never fully recover from. When she starts allowing emotional closeness in moments where she normally stays distant, that is her silent confession. She'll reveal softer parts of her personality she usually guards. Maybe she admits she's nervous around you. Maybe she tells you she feels safe with you without fully explaining why. Or sometimes she'll tease you but then quickly pull back into a warm smile as if she didn't want the playfulness to be mistaken for disinterest. That shift, sharp, then gentle, is her testing if you can read what lies beneath the surface. Watch how she initiates connection indirectly. She may send a random message without any real reason, just to see if the connection still feels alive. She'll share songs, quotes, or moments from her day that subtly reflect her emotional state. She may even show slight jealousy at things that shouldn't matter, not because she wants control, but because she's trying to understand if you value her uniquely compared to others. These aren't games. They are emotional indicators wrapped in caution. She'll also observe how you handle her emotional fluctuations. A woman who wants to surrender will express small emotional reactions, not dramatic outbursts, but micro-expressions of uncertainty, to see if you remain firm and calm. If your reaction matches her fear, she steps back. If it matches her peace, she sinks further into trust. She isn't asking you to fix her. She's checking if your energy makes her feel steadier. Another powerful sign is how she protects your reputation even when you're not around. She'll speak of you with quiet respect. She'll defend you subtly if others question your intentions. She'll remember small details about your passions, your routines, your preferences, because mentally she's already building emotional alignment. She doesn't want to admit it, but her attention reveals it. Then comes the unspoken test. She'll position herself emotionally near you and wait. Maybe it's a longer hug. Maybe it's staying quiet after you finish speaking, hoping you'll give her permission to step closer without asking. Or it's the look she gives when she says goodbye, just a second too long, lingering with something she hasn't verbalized. But here's where many men break the moment. They rush, thinking it's an invitation to escalate physically. The truth? A woman gives herself emotionally long before she gives herself physically. If you skip that step, you lose the progression, and she'll retreat. When she begins to fall silent instead of speaking, when her laughter softens rather than rises, when her eyes search yours in moments of quiet, that's her heart asking if it's finally safe to rest. When a woman quietly wants to give herself to you, the most telling sign isn't in what she shows. It's in what she allows herself to feel around you. She starts to lower her defenses not because you demanded it, but because your presence makes hiding feel unnecessary. There is a moment, subtle but unmistakable, where her guard doesn't just slip, it stays down for a second too long. That extra heartbeat of openness means her heart is leaning toward you, waiting to see if you notice. She begins seeking your opinion, not on superficial topics, but on things that hold emotional weight. She'll ask what you think about loyalty, vulnerability, love, or when someone is worth risking comfort for. She's not looking for the perfect answer. She's looking for your answer, trying to feel if your truth aligns with what she secretly hopes to experience. The way she listens matters. She doesn't just process your words, she studies your energy, checking if you speak from ego or from grounded conviction. She also starts mimicking your rhythms. If you're calm, she naturally stops being restless. If your voice lowers when speaking sincerely, hers softly follows. Women don't mirror energy they don't feel drawn to. Alignment is the body's way of saying, I feel safe following where you lead. When she begins matching your pace, even unconsciously, it's because she wants to fall into sync with you. Notice how she responds when vulnerability arises. If a moment becomes emotionally heavy and she doesn't retreat, doesn't joke it away, doesn't shift the topic, that stillness is powerful. Most people run from quiet emotional tension. If she stays with you inside it, even if nervously, she's testing if you're a man capable of carrying her when words fail. Expect slight emotional contradictions. She may tease you one moment and then become profoundly sincere the next, all without explanation. That flip isn't confusion. It's her letting instinct break through control. It's what happens when desire meets hesitation. Don't react to the shift. Absorb it. Respond with consistent steadiness. Her emotional rhythm isn't something to solve, it's something to witness. She'll begin remembering what matters to you. She recalls the small things, a goal you mentioned once, a doubt you tried to hide, something you said about your childhood. When she brings it up later, softly, without making it a big point, that is her way of saying, I see you deeper than you think. And that is not casual. That kind of attentiveness is reserved for the man she is preparing to emotionally invest in. One of the deepest signs, she becomes softer when you express masculine certainty, not arrogance, but clarity. If she visibly relaxes when you speak firmly about your direction, your standards, your boundaries, that is her emotional calibration responding to masculine grounding. Women do not relax around unstable conviction. They relax around centered certainty. And perhaps the most profound moment is when she simply looks at you differently. Her eyes don't just look, they search, as if she is silently asking, are you the man who won't break the part of me I'm ready to give you? The day she no longer hides that look is the day her heart has already stepped toward you. But what she does next, how she behaves when she's finally ready to let go, is the part almost every man misses. The final and most powerful sign that a woman wants to give herself to you, but won't say it, is when she begins to choose emotional closeness over her own safety mechanisms. This is the moment where her actions subtly shift from curiosity to quiet commitment. She no longer just lingers in your presence. She positions herself emotionally near you even when nothing is happening. The space between you stops feeling like distance. It feels like potential. She starts volunteering vulnerability without being prompted, sharing thoughts that feel incomplete, emotions that don't come with clean explanations. She might say things like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, or you're easy to talk to, or even, I just feel different when I'm around you. Those aren't comments, they are confessions wrapped in uncertainty, hoping you'll unwrap them gently. Her energy shifts from guarded sharpness to soft intention. She pays attention to your breathing, your posture, the tone behind your words. A woman ready to give herself isn't drawn to what you do, she's drawn to how you are. She begins aligning with your emotional rhythm as if she's already making space for a future connection. You'll notice she doesn't rush the moment anymore. In fact, she slows it down, almost subconsciously, because she wants to feel it more deeply. Time begins to stretch in her presence because what you share is no longer interaction, it's immersion. Here's the signal most men miss. She stops trying to make you want her, and instead subtly reveals the woman she becomes only when she feels seen. That version of her, the one with softer pauses, deeper eye contact, unguarded laughter, is not performance. It's emergence. She doesn't do it for attention. She does it because her soul's instinct is to step toward where she feels emotionally held. And then she gives you one final test, not by challenging you, but by becoming silent in a moment where you'd normally expect a response. Maybe she's sitting beside you and your hands accidentally brush. Maybe your eyes meet for a few seconds too long. Maybe she asks a question and then doesn't speak after you answer, staring quietly as if searching for confirmation she can trust her instinct. That silence, that stillness, is her soul leaning forward and asking, "Can I surrender here?" Understand this clearly. It is not an invitation to rush. It is not the moment to take. It is the moment to receive. If you respond with pressure, you lose the moment. If you respond with presence, steady eye contact, calm breathing, respectful awareness, you become the environment her heart can finally exhale in. Women don't give themselves away. They give themselves into the right space. If you've felt these signs from a woman, but you weren't sure what they meant, now you know. Her silence wasn't disinterest. Her hesitation wasn't rejection. It was her heart quietly unfolding, hoping you were the kind of man who could read what she couldn't risk saying. Now let me ask you something deeply personal. Have you ever missed a moment like this because you weren't aware of the signs? And if you had that moment again today, what would you do differently? Comment your answer below. If this opened your eyes like the video, subscribe for more powerful insights and share this with the friend who needs to hear it right now.